you have chosen wisely to spend your time here tonight because you're going to learn some things that will impact your health in a really positive way for the rest of your life when you apply what you learn. Tonight, you're going to find out how stress affects your overall health and how you can take steps to heal from the stress that's causing damage to your nervous system and your entire body. This masterclass is being recorded and you'll receive a copy just a few days from now. Dave and Monique and Judy are going to pack just as much value as possible into the short time you're with them. And you'll be able to go back and listen again to all the good stuff you're going to hear tonight. If you have questions or comments during the course of the class, you can use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, and the instructors can answer at the end of their presentations. Be sure you stay till the end of the class, because I'll be back to tell you about how you can receive a wonderful gift valued at $70. Your instructors tonight are Doctors David and Monique Cameron and certified health coach Judy McDonald. Dr. Dave and Dr. Monique are father and daughter and work together as chiropractors at Cameron Family Chiropractor in Calgary. Let me tell you just a little bit about the three of them. Dr. Dave Cameron has been a chiropractor for 33 years, as his father was before him. He focuses on family care, neurobiologic mechanisms of change, and optimizing health. He has 6 children and 4 grandchildren. When he isn't in the office caring for his practice members, Dr. Dave enjoys spending time with his beautiful wife, Tara, and being out on the water. Dr. Monique Cameron is a third-generation chiropractor on both sides of her family. She's worked in her father's practice since she was 15 years old. She graduated with her doctorate in chiropractic almost 5 years ago and has partnered with her dad, Dr. Dave. When Dr. Monique isn't helping people attain optimal health, she's hanging out with her dog, Tess, and spending time hiking, biking, paddling, rock climbing, or anything that gets her outdoors. She's looking forward to being able to travel again, and she loves connecting with people and hearing their stories. Judy McDonald is a certified health coach and provider of specialized nutritional supplements that improve overall health. The clients she works with receive foundational nutritional supplementation for preventive and restorative health. You can experience a broad range of health benefits, including gains in muscle strength, reduced inflammation, less pain, and increased energy. Much like a car battery, there are times when your body needs a jump start. You can overcome conditions that are plaguing you so you can enjoy a long and healthy life. Judy can definitely help you do that. When Judy isn't coaching people to health, she and her husband are out playing golf. You could not find 3 people who are more knowledgeable about how you can get healthy and stay that way. And now, without further delay, here are Doctors Dave and Monique Cameron and Judy McDonald.
Well, welcome everyone. I'll start off the evening here. And this is something that most of us know, but I just want to remind you that stress is just not in your head, it's in your whole body. And we all know how hard it is to deal with stress, but there are active ways that you can manage it. So today, we are talking about ways that you can reduce stress and improve your day-to-day experience through natural means. So I want to start by talking about the mind-body connection. And I'd like to talk to Doctors Monique and Dave about how would you describe the nervous system? What is its function in the body?
It's a very broad question for us to get into, especially we're talking about the whole topic of stress. Before I get into the nervous system, just stress itself, to understand what it is and its impact on our lives, I think is important. Stress can be good. Most people don't think about it that way, but we need some stress. Exercise is stress. Gravity is stress. It actually helps keep our bones strong. But gravity can also work against us. We all know that, right? But we need stress to keep our body strong. It causes our body to adapt. Our nervous system not only allows us to perceive the environment around us and to adapt or respond to it, but it also communicates the whole essence of life through our entire body, right? And that's why it's such a critical system. When it's in a distress or bad stress mode, many of our functions that we want to work optimally are shut down or inhibited, right? It's like our body is saying, okay, I need to just survive this moment. I don't know if any of our viewers are familiar with that feeling right now. I'm sure they are, but it's just like, I just got to get through this, right? That's kind of a survival response versus one where you're thriving and it's like you're excited to be doing what you're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
But your nervous system regulates everything that's happening in your body. That response to stress, the response to any particular event. And
So it's like the command center, is it, of the body?
most definitely, right?
Okay.
Without the nervous system, nothing happens,
Wow.
right? Without it communicating first that breath of life to every cell, organ, and tissue of your body. That's what animates us. But then it has to make sure that your heart increases when you're excited, whether it's, when you meet somebody special, or when you're running, or if you're in a threatening situation, your nervous system is regulating all those situations.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the effects on our nervous system when we're experiencing negative stress?
Negative stress. The distinction.
Well, we're hearing a lot about stress out there right now, and there are some big impacts on people and what's in their bodies, right? And what are some of those effects?
I guess we should start by saying also our nervous system is our brain and our spinal cord. That is the central command system of our body that controls everything. When we're in that stressful mode, or that fight or flight, as we often call it, we see a decrease in respiration, we see an increase in heart rate, we see the blood go away from the internal organs and go to the big muscles in our body, because our body is ready for that fight. And so a lot of those things, like our digestion and different things like that, end up getting suppressed or turned down, so that we're able to take on the battle that's ahead of us. We see increases in cortisol, which is a stress hormone that we see. So we see spikes in hormones, and we see decreases in hormones as well in there.
We see a down regulation of metabolism. There's a lot of people who say, I just try everything. I exercise and I just can't seem to shed these extra few pounds, that extra energy storage that we carry, right? But your metabolism is regulated down, your immune system is regulated down. It's a natural response. Your body is working on that survival mode, right? The level of alertness or awareness that we have. I often use the example of, if you're walking through the woods and you come across a bear cub, that's an interesting encounter, except we all know that mama bear's around somewhere. So our level of alertness just goes right through the roof. We are paying attention to every little sound around us because we want to know where mama bear is. I want to know where she is by her breath long before I see or smell her, right? That same part of your brain is the part of your brain that has to be quiet and calm so you can go to sleep at night. That's one of the things that we're really seeing a lot of right now, is a lot of the practice members, the people we care for here, are really struggling with either falling asleep, or they fall asleep okay. They wake so quickly because the slightest disturbance and you're awake, because it's, your brain is in that primitive mode of, is that a bear, right? And so it's as simple sometimes as changing the things that we're looking at before bedtime. And I think it's important people get practical ideas. And this is one of them, is we encourage people, don't watch the news before bedtime. They're not going to tell you the good things your neighbors did or anything like that. They're going to tell you that the world's going crazy. And there's volcanoes and terrorists and all kinds of stuff that are going to impact what's happening. Or the latest terrible snowstorm or rain, right? That's some of this lots of people are dealing with right now. And then you're supposed to go to sleep and have a good night, right? Now, it's not just the news. Most people aren't watching the news now, but they'll go to their Facebook feed or their Instagram feed, and that's not always positive.
Yeah, in my experience with my clients, one of the things that I've noticed is that people get used to feeling the way they feel outside of pain.
Yep.
They take certain things as normal, like you said, lack of sleep,
Yep.
sore stomach, because they're not digesting properly. So what are some of the warning signs that we can have as people that, hey, you know what, things are just not going that well?
Well, you talked about, we've talked about sleep already. That's probably one of the first indicators that I would say paying attention to is important. Increased muscle tension, right?
Sore neck?
Well, sore neck,
Yeah.
most definitely.
Headaches.
Headaches. And it's not just the physical. Very often we go to the physical, but there's the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, because that's the whole of who we are.
Yeah.
So if we start talking about the mental, forgetfulness, challenges, staying focused and concentrating on a task, emotional, more irritability, more anger, unfortunately, shortness with those near and dear to us, right? And, shortness with the people around us. I can personally say that on a stress day, I'm probably a less hospitable driver, right? And others can relate to that. But on a better day, I see the person I know is going to want to merge in, so I give a little more space. He emerges in. A friend of mine calls it driving with a little more aloha, which of course, a little more aloha, a little more love, right? But that's different than I got to get to where I'm going. I'm running late, and nobody get in my way, and I'm going to get there before you, even if it's this one little car length that I'm going to do it.
Yeah, early in the conversation, you brought in breathing.
Yes.
How much of an impact is that on our structural being?
Actually,
huge.
it really is.
It really, really is. Breathing is so important for us to be able to function, for our muscles to be able to move. We need breath. We can, live with water. We can live without food, but we can't live without air, right? And so we know that breathing and air is life. And so oftentimes when we're in those stressful situations, we go to that shallow breathing where we're not getting it enough oxygen, but enough to keep us alive, right? In that survival mode again. And so one of the big things that we look for and we notice is, how is someone breathing, right? That tells us alone what's going on with a person and how things are functioning and working in their lives for them.
Yeah.
And so getting that full breath, the belly, the mid and the top chest and everything in there is one of those huge things. And it's something we all need to practice. Even us as chiropractors, we know the importance of it. And oftentimes we even forget it. And so taking those seconds to breathe is so important.
One of the things that we often do with patients is give them exercise or help them connect with their breath, connect with their body, have an awareness. Because one of the things you touched upon and that we see so often is that we learn to tolerate or start to think certain things are normal, right? And compartmentalize our bodies, and we'll disconnect from certain aches and pains and that type to cope, to get by, because we don't have
somebody how they're feeling. They might think they're feeling great because only their left shoulder is hurting today, right?
Very much so.
Yeah,
right?
so we just
And that tolerance is something that it allows problems to malinger, to fester, to gradually become worse over time, right? And it's a natural response that we have to filter things out that are constant, right? Yeah. And so, even with stress, if it's a constant thing, we start to think of it as our normal. And we'll often think, I'm dealing with the stress well, and the stress will build and our range of adaptability gets a little narrower. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, my neck, I can't move, or it's my low back, or boy, is my ulcer acting up, right? And these are all physical manifestations of what's happening in our stress system, but really in our nervous system. Our nervous system's kind of maxing out. And so what we need to do is take the tone of that nervous system and calm that nervous system down, bring it more not into the fight or flight, but into healing, growth, and repair. Right.
Yeah,
and
what I'm really hearing from you right now is very interesting. So our nervous system is the command center and impacts everything. So when you're stressed out about one thing, like your boss says you're going to be fired if you don't, whatever, right? So what I hear you saying is it affects every part of your body.
And it's part of
digestion,
your life too, right? We know that, right?
your life.
Right? Because the physical, the mental, the emotional, it carries over. It goes home with you. Right?
Mhm.
You're tossing and turning at night, trying to figure out how to find that solution. You're not sleeping, but your digestion, your appetite,
Yeah,
emotions, it's all in there, right? And it's all regulated through that system.
yeah. So what kind of ailments, let's call it, are people coming in with these days? What are they looking for help with? Let's say that.
And things people are looking for help with. Part of it comes to what people understand chiropractic to be, right? A lot of people think about chiropractic as back pain, neck pain, maybe headaches, that kind of thing. But when you understand chiropractic, where it started and where it really is most effective, it's about the nervous system. We access the spine to change how the nervous system's functioning. The symptoms that people are coming in with are usually the body's way of saying something's wrong or something needs to change, right? And I think of it very much like the check engine light on the dash of the car, right?
Mm.
And the check engine light is not the problem. You can cover it up with a piece of tape. You won't see it anymore. And for many of us, we do that. We take something to mask the pain and we keep on flying down the highway.
Yeah.
Until things don't work so well.
Yeah. And it's interesting because
That's
you're in the field. Sorry, Monique, go ahead.
Sorry, that was a big question we always get when we sit down and we go through with our patients with our findings and everything. A lot of them is at times patients are like, how did this happen? I don't understand. How did it get this bad? When they think that they're only coming in for something in their world as simple, or my bad back, or my wry neck, or the migraines that I have, or the shoulder injury that I had, or the shoulder pain. It seems like a simple thing, but as soon as we start doing our investigation and asking our specific questions into the detailed history we do, they start to understand that the accumulations of what happened in life and how often we just overpass things that happen actually start building up to the point that they're actually finally in our clinic and we're able to sit down and help them.
Interesting point. You're talking about reactive healthcare.
Mm.
And it's interesting because all three of us will agree that we're in proactive healthcare.
That's the preferred way.
Preferred way. But isn't it interesting what you just said, Monique, that it takes some pain to make people think, hey, I think I need some help.
Got to do something about this.
I got to do something about that. Can you fix me, doctor?
Yeah.
The analogy that Dr. Monique loves to use, and I think it's an excellent one, is that the bucket is overflowing. It's full. We can't carry anymore.
Yeah.
And you can try and bail the bucket faster, but that doesn't necessarily do it. What we need to do is help people get a bigger bucket.
Right.
We've got more capacity, more resilience to be able to deal with the stressors, right? And when we're able to do that, we do it through our interaction with the nervous system. You do it through nutritional support so that the body can adapt more effectively, so it has the right tools to cleanse itself, to rebuild itself, to repair itself. Because that's the thing, the body repairs itself. We know we don't do the healing, right? We assist, we aid, we're the coaches, we're the mentors, we help you along that journey, but it's about getting that system able to do that. When it's overwhelmed, there's no capacity.
Yeah.
So we have to get that bigger bucket, make room so that now there's the opportunity for healing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, one of my sayings is, if you want to support something, support your body.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to focus on the mind a lot, is what I find.
Yep.
Because they actually believe it's the driver, but I go, wait a minute, that body is actually affecting your mind. What's going on with your body?
Yep.
So you look after the body, you usually have a better mind as well.
Yeah. Well, it all goes together.
It all goes together.
We talk about something as simple as somebody's posture. So we talk about the body there. A depressed person, what kind of posture do they have? Right. And then think about how energetic that person is, right? How creative that person is or isn't, right? Emotionally resourceful. How connected are they going to be with family and friends and loved ones and all these different things that come into play, right? How much can they see opportunity in the world versus no hope, right? It's a completely different thing. And that's affected as much by the physiology as by the headspace that they're in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so fascinating to think about how easy it is for us to think that, how restrictive we believe our life is. Here's an example. I can't do blank because I've got blank. And people seem to be satisfied with that and not look at all the possibilities that are out there for support.
Yeah.
So here's where I'm going kind of down a little bit of a trail here. Sure. But a lot of people, their physiological situation affects their income. They can only do so much.
Yep.
It affects their relationships. There's a lot of stuff in play there.
Yep. Oh yeah. Illness starts to control our lives. When we talk about health, we talk about your capacity to adapt physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Not merely the absence of symptoms, not merely the absence of pain. Too many people think that if I have no pain, we know that's not true. People are developing cancer, they have developing heart disease, and they feel fine.
Or they look,
and they may look fine too, right? And if you look fine, you're healthy.
Right.
And that's a struggle that a lot of people who aren't healthy have, is if they look good on the outside, people think, well, what's wrong with you? You should be able to work. You should be able to, participate in these activities with your kids or all these other things. And they would love to. But the bucket's full. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the resiliency to do it. Or they do that one thing, but they know they have to give up a bunch of others. Right. And too often people think a part of that can be as simple as we're getting older.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one that I really like to take aim at, because we see every day that age is not the limiting factor in healing. More often than not, what the limiting factor in healing is some interference in the body's ability to perceive and adapt appropriately. And that's all through the nervous system. If the body can perceive and adapt appropriately and we don't give it the right tools and building blocks, then there's a problem there too, right? So that's where the nervous system and the nutritional approach, everything together comes together.
So that leads me to this question. In your experience, how many people that you see have that connection? They understand they need nutritious eating, they need to have regular chiropractic treatments, I'll call it that. They need to have time away from their work so that they mentally feel better. How many people are actually connected to all that part of themselves in your experience? I can see Monique wants to answer this one.
That's a hard one.
Pursing her lips.
Oh, that's a hard number. It's not a high number, unfortunately. That's why it's a hard number, because the people that are doing it are fantastic. I have amazing patients that are totally on board and understand that. But unfortunately, the vast majority of people that come in aren't. Yeah.
And so that's the thing that I was thinking about the answer. And the answer is, if we look at the demographics of the people we care for, most of those people either already have or are learning that connection and that awareness. But if we look in the general population, that's a completely different thing, right? Much like the people that you work with, these are people who have decided, I need to take responsibility for my health, because if I leave the responsibility for my health with someone else, they're only waiting until things are broken. Right? Because that's really how our system is set up, is, if you're not feeling good, but there's really nothing that we can find that's broken or wrong, well, come back when you feel worse.
Unfortunately, their tools are, prescriptions or
even surgeries
and different things like that. It's not actually dealing with the issue or the root cause. It's just, unfortunately, a patch. And there are definitely times for those, for sure. But also taking that responsibility is a big portion that comes in there as well, right?
And we often end up as the doctors of last resort. People have tried everything else and they're not getting any answers. Too often, especially when we get the people who have been ill, who haven't been feeling well for a long time, and you've run into this too,
Mhm.
often they're told, well, it's in your head,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or it's something mental, emotional that needs to be
Mhm.
addressed. Well, yeah, mental, emotional can be part of it, but
Mhm.
it's usually not the driving factor.
Mhm.
Usually there's other stressors, other things that are interfering with how that nervous system is functioning, why
Mhm.
the nerves aren't communicating at 100%, or why they're overexcited and hyper responding,
Yeah.
right? You see that nervous system that is just wound like a guitar string, as tight as it can go, right?
Yeah.
You know that if you hit that string hard, it's going to snap.
Mhm.
Whereas a more resilient string, a bass string, it you can strum on that. It's got some resiliency. It makes a great sound. It's not, one end is relaxed and meditative, like an om. The other end is, we could do fingernails on the chalkboard.
Right. Yeah.
Just saying that for some people is enough to get their spine. It's just like that cringe that goes.
Yeah.
Right?
I just want to touch a bit on sleep.
Sure.
And here's what I want to, this is my experience.
Mhm.
If I'm under some kind of stress, I usually don't sleep as well.
Mhm.
But here's what I find. I find that my body, I get more body aches in that.
Mhm.
Can you kind of add to what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Oh,
What I'm
sure.
saying?
Yeah. So when we're under stress, when we're in that fight or flight, our nervous system, the actual tone of our nervous system increases. That triggers the brainstem. That causes our muscles to become more tense. So if you contract a muscle for an extended period of time, you lift something up and have to hold it. Well, if you're not moving those muscles regularly, they start to ache. They're starting to starve of oxygen. So you're getting lactic acid buildup in the muscles. So you get these aches and pains, right?
So that can happen in our sleep?
Oh, sure.
Wow.
Right. And you know which muscles often are affected the most? The jaw muscles.
Wow.
You hear about people grinding and clenching and everything like that at night. That's reflective of the stress and tension in their neck, in their upper body. It's like they're trying to, work out the world in their sleep.
Yeah.
Right. But the muscle tension is there. You probably notice too on those nights that your body will have, it's almost like it has a hard time just being calm. There's these little twitches and movements, and it's like trying to be still in and of itself. To be still requires that our system is calm.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the nervous system is kind of constantly firing, and it's like, I got to move this. I just can't get comfortable. You toss, you turn, you fidget, you move. Your partner says, knock it off.
We're like a fish.
Exactly.
All night. Flip flop, flip flop.
Yeah.
Sleep
So
is
what are we going to do? How can we? Sorry, Monique, what did you want to add to that?
It's okay. Sleep is also important because that's the biggest time that your body actually has to heal. Honestly, when we're sick, that's why we sleep so much, is so that the body can actually heal and repair the cells, the tissues, and everything going on, right, from whatever's gone through our body. So when we're not getting that proper amount of sleep, when we're not getting into those deep sleeps that we're supposed to have, our body can't properly heal. And that's where we also get some of those aches and pains and those issues coming up, is because our body isn't repairing like it should. And so it's staying in that constant state as well, right?
Right. So asleep or awake, you're in the same physiological state.
And then sleep is also important for refreshing the brain, right? It's like hitting a restart on your computer or your phone. We know that when we hit that restart, it refreshes everything. But by getting that good sleep, it refreshes our mind. So the stuff that we went to bed with, it doesn't carry over when we wake up, right? And so how often do the stresses of last night carry over into the morning, and they end up affecting that day, and then the next day, and so on.
Which is why they recommend you don't have a dispute with your spouse before you go to bed.
Don't go to bed angry.
Don't go to bed angry.
So one of the other things that we haven't kind of touched on directly is that as our body's under stress, there's more inflammation. And inflammation is a huge thing. And a lot of people recognize that. The amount of anti-inflammatories that are being used on a daily basis, causing challenges to the liver and kidneys, because your body has to work with that, is huge. And this, you can buy them over the counter, so it's easy to get. They're safe, right? But the damage that they can do is huge. And your nervous system is designed to recognize inflammation. In fact, inflammation is one of those triggers for the nervous system that's going to send signals to your brain really quick that something's wrong. And of course, that signal is usually pain.
Mhm.
Right? And so the more the body's in this fight or flight state, the more that it's going to be in that inflammatory state. The more that's happening, the more the nervous system is triggered, and it starts to become this vicious cycle that we're in. Without proper sleep,
Mhm.
it's the same. And you see it. You wake up in the morning, you're puffy, and you feel right. Your body's trying to dilute what's
Right.
happening there. Right? It's like you start retaining fluid, and you feel right.
Yeah.
That's a good doctor term. But,
You know, that was a great point that you just made, because it made me think of, you know, we are designed to be inflammatory creatures. It's there for a reason, but
Yeah,
therefore, okay, so when we're running from that bear that you
Mhm.
were talking about, our muscles inflame,
Yep.
right? But
Yep.
we're not supposed to be under that chronic
Stress.
state.
Yeah.
And is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, definitely. It's
Mhm.
supposed to be short term. And that,
Short-term.
and here's the thing, the other thing about inflammation is that inflammation triggers the healing response when we have the time to slow down
Yeah.
Mm,
and sleep and rest and repair. But if we
right.
stay in that fight or flight, the body has to hold that. That's where they talk about elevated cortisol levels and adrenaline levels are high.
Mm.
So you get adrenal fatigue and all these other things.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
the whole kind of cascade of symptoms that can go with that.
Yeah.
Right. And so we want to calm the nervous system, but we also need to give the body the antioxidants and the
Mhm.
nutrients, right? And
So in today's world of chronic stress, what I'm hearing you say is we're not even using inflammation properly in our bodies anymore.
no, because
Wow.
just like stress, it can be beneficial and harmful. Most
Yeah.
people are running on the high end of harmful.
Right.
Right?
So what are we going to do? What can we do?
What can
What
we do?
can we- that's a
there,
better
there are a
question.
number of things that help to move us from that stress state, right? If you're stuck, you need help. And that's what we do, and that's what you do, right? We help people get out of that stuck state and help them start to connect with and recognize these problems. Because for some people, for many people, they don't even know. Well, they don't know what they don't know, right? They don't know where the disconnect is. It's like something's become disconnected. I don't know what to do to correct this, and I need help. And that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
But there are some things that we know we can do that are beneficial. I talked about, being careful what you watch before you go to bed, the thing, the
Mhm.
that's there. But we know exercise
Mm,
is a
huge.
great tool, and we all need exercise. You can do too much, right? There's this whole spectrum. If you do too much of it, you start causing more inflammation, more damage, all that kind of stuff, right? But you need exercise. Go for a walk, right? And I encourage people, like I have one lady who she said, I love trees. I said, go for a walk in the woods, find a park and walk in the trees and just unwind, because her work is stressful. I said, make a point. If there's a park along the way on the way home, you stop, you go for, even just a few minutes in the trees, hug one or two of them if you need to, right? But
Yeah.
that's a good thing. For me, I love being by the water. Dr. Monique loves being outdoors. She likes being back, right? And so you go out and you paddle or you walk or and if you go with somebody that you love or that you care for, or a friend, do that.
That's
Connection is
huge.
hugely important. And that's something that, really encouraging people, like touch. And that's one of the wonderful things about what we get to do is we get to touch people every day.
Mm,
Touch is hugely important. Like there's been so many studies done, babies that if they're not touched, newborn, right, they fail to thrive. And
yeah.
yet the human contact is so critical.
Yeah.
I would encourage people, make sure you get your quota of hugs each day.
Yeah.
And that would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you bring the touch thing up, because I've been listening to a book, and that's one of the things that they talked about is when the baby is taken right away from the mother and not had the skin to skin, that there's a possibility that in later life that person can suffer from depression or some kind of mental disorder.
There's a lot of study that's being done on the impact, and it affects the neurological development. Of course, we think about babies and infants and newborns, and we think, oh yeah, their nervous system is developing constantly. Even as adults, our nervous system is constantly changing and developing. And when I went through school. It's a little while ago now, but they said it didn't change much. And yet now we have the whole studies of neuroplasticity and how the brain is able to change and adapt, and how, as you create new stimulus, you develop new neural pathways.
Yeah.
Too often we just keep doing the same old, so we don't develop new neural pathways. It's the same old rut that we keep walking down.
Well, some of us are afraid to develop new neural pathways.
And that's the thing that's interesting is people will often come to us and they want change, but they're afraid of change.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet that's really what they want. And so sometimes in the process of change, we have to stir things up a little, right? And the process, the term for it is perturb or perturbation, to perturb something, right? But by stirring it up, you can get something new. And that's really what we're all looking for. Something new, a new adaptive response, a new strategy that allows us to more effectively embrace what's happening in the world and go forth and do what we're called to do, right?
I love what you just said, getting onto the exercise, taking that time for yourself to smell the roses with the bees, right? That kind of thing, to get out there and experience a break from all the hustle of life, eh? What else can we do?
You can breathe.
Breathing?
You can stop and breathe. And it's one of the things that we do, meditation as well, and that ties in the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, as well as the physical. But for many of our people that we work with, particularly if you see a very strong physiological stress response, and it's related to, say, work and a constant work posture, like a computer or something like that, or a very demanding job, taking a moment to pause and take a full breath, and maybe giving them some exercises that help them to connect in with different parts of the body, focus on breathing into here or into the diaphragm or into the stomach, and feel that connection. It's amazing what a few seconds. It
is amazing. And sometimes it can be life-saving and relationship-saving. And here's where I'm going. When I'm coaching some of my clients, I say, when you get that angry email or that nasty text, take 10 deep breaths, slow, before you respond to them. Because that tends to be, that breathing comes in handy. It's that separation before you respond.
And it tends to brings
everything down
a little bit, bring your heart rate down, right? Because we can control our heart rate by breath, right? You think about heart rate, you think about blood pressure and everything. Like breath is a tool that they've actually used for a long time to help people make those kinds of changes, right? Start breathing more rapidly in and out through your nose, and your energy level starts to go up. And you see people do this as they're getting psyched up for an event or something like that.
Right? I see Mike just made a point here, earthing techniques, taking your bare feet and standing on earth.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of research about that, how shoes have separated us from the earth, really.
Especially in this electrified world that we're in, right? We think about the stressors as the interactions and different things, but we have magnetic stresses, electrical stresses around us constantly. And you know what? That affects your nervous system too, right?
Yeah. So breathing and exercise. Oh, hi, you.
Hello. We just got just a minute or two left here. And so I have a couple of questions that have popped up here.
Okay.
And the first one, speaking of popping, is your chiropractors. So how does popping someone's back help heal the nervous system?
Okay. That comes back to what I kind of talked about before, is people often think of chiropractors as back doctors or spine doctors. When we, quote, pop a back, or when we make an adjustment, what we're doing is changing the tone of the nervous system that's housed within the spine, right? And so very often there's release of different things like endorphins, that type of thing. So that feels good. But also it changes how the nervous system is functioning. It's changing that tone directly. Also, there are ways of adjusting that don't require, quote, the pop or the crack. And a lot of people have an aversion to that. They're concerned. It's actually just an opening up of the joint, a cavitation, a release of the gases that are dissolved in the fluids in the joint. But the way that we work at least in our practice, we're focusing on things on a neurological level. So if we want to change the tone of the muscles, first we change the nervous system. The nervous system tells the muscles what to do. I love when we see somebody who's maybe been seeing a massage therapist for a long time and they get under care with us and they go back to their massage therapist and they said, yeah, the therapist said, I'm more relaxed starting out my massage. She's like, I'm starting where I usually finish after they've worked on me for.
Yeah.
If the nervous system is more calm, then the body can adapt more appropriately. We see that more appropriate response.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, Dr. Dave, it's proven that a chiropractic adjustment can soothe the nervous system, like you said, and lessen that fight or flight response, which reduces our stress.
Yeah.
So I mentioned this to you before. I have felt an emotional release by having an adjustment from a chiropractor. I got some pent up something, right?
A lot of times the patterns that we have an emotional root, especially the ones that we hang on to the most. A fall can simply be a fall. But if a fall happened because somebody we were trusting allowed us to fall or made us fall, then the meaning that we store in our nervous system completely changes. We may not grieve that broken trust until we're able to connect with that again. And in the meantime, it just stores up as this certain response that comes up all the time. And it's almost like a pattern, right? And it's this record that plays over and over again until we connect with it.
Yeah.
Mike Nelson made another really great comment. He said, many times Dr. Dave has not popped me. Gentle touch has helped sometimes better than a pop.
Oh, nice.
The great thing about the technique we do is, and chiropractic in general, is that we are putting an intentional positive input into that nervous system. And as much as it may be in one area, the nervous system is a global thing. So by putting a positive input into one area, you are making a global change in that nervous system and how that body's functioning. And so it may seem simple or fast or quick sometimes, but it's a huge change that's just happened in that body.
Yeah.
Have another question, and this one is a two-parter.
Okay.
How much of illness, like diabetes or heart disease or kidney disease or those kinds of things, are caused by nervous system damage?
Ooh, that's an interesting and challenging question to answer. When we work with people, we don't tell them that we're treating chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia or any particular disease process or named entity, so much as what we're doing is adjusting, changing the operating system, the nervous system, so that the body can adapt more appropriately, right? That gives the body the opportunity to heal. Very often when we have heart disease, cancer, different things like that, these are processes that have been in place for a long time. And like, if I think of cancer, your body knows how to find abnormal cells and destroy them. And it does it on an ongoing basis. Just like every day it makes new cells, new red blood cells, new white blood cells, it heals, right? But if your body loses track of those things, if that's developing in an area where there's not proper connection or awareness, then those things can get a foothold there. So we don't tell people that we treat any of those things so much as what we do is help your body be more resilient and able to address those things more effectively.
So you just answered the second part of the question. And the second part of the question was just, what you do.
Yeah.
How does that assist with that? And it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That if your body is getting healthier and it's getting stronger, and your nervous system is getting stronger, and the damage done in your nervous system is starting to heal, then your body can take off and do what it does.
And the rest of the body will start doing the healing that it needs to do. Exactly. Right. So I had a lady earlier this week who she was to her cardiologist, and her cardiologist said, well, things are looking better this year than they were last year. Keep on doing what you're doing. Right. And she's doing nutrition and she's seeing us, and it's moving in the right direction. And she's seen many calendar pages turn. Is a nice way to put it.
We're searching for words.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you who are listening in on the call tonight, but I'll tell you what, I have learned a bunch of great stuff tonight. So thank you so much, Dave and Monique and Judy. At the